With the Elden Ring DLC, The Shadow of the Erdtree, seemingly on the horizon now due to some very tasty news, I thought it would be a fantastic time to revisit a question I asked a few months ago. What are you most excited to see in the DLC? I will share with you exactly what these two pieces of really exciting news are in just a few minutes. Firstly though, I got loads of responses to this question last time I asked it. So here's a list with a few of my own thoughts and opinions, and plenty of your suggestions as well, discussing exactly what we hope will be in the Shadow of the Erdtree. Customization options for Torrent. I am just going to be showing you some lovely scenic shots of Torrent here, and hoping that my wonderful editor and wife is able to add some gorgeous post-production effects to change the colours of Torrent and other nifty little things as an example to you of customization options that they may bring into the game for us. And I would just like to say, at no point would I condone any kind of pay-to-win mechanics. I personally do think it's okay if they add some cosmetic DLC, but ideally being able to earn skins in-game would be much better than forcing us to pay for it. But if you're really going to make me pay to put a sweet-ass crown or helmet on top of Torrent's head, or maybe even give him a wicked cool suit of armour, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'd probably pay for that, if I'm totally honest. Because Torrent is, after all, the goodest boy, and deserves all the love in the world. Now that we've finished swooning and fawning over Torrent, I'll move into number 2, drop rates for weapons and armour. What I mean by this is that there are some very cool armour sets from wandering enemies with a very low drop chance percentage. You see me here during the first segment of this one, farming wandering nobles and other low-level enemies, because the noble sorcerers have a chance to drop the aristocrats armor set. And I personally think, wouldn't it be great if there was a built-in system that rewarded you with one piece of gear from that armor set for every X amount of kills? I believe there is a specific name for this system that I'm referring to, so someone might be able to help out, like a sympathy reward system or something like that. So say for these wandering nobles, all I need is the leg piece. So say after 30 or 40 wandering noble kills, it will then guarantee me that drop. And we'll switch on over to here for another example. In the Windmill Village, you can get the festive set and the blue festive set from the dancing ladies here. But you have no idea if you will get these sets dropped for you within the first few seconds or only after hours and hours of grinding. So if there was a counter and it was like, okay, you haven't had a piece of this armor set drop for 50 enemies now, so we'll drop a piece and then we'll reset that counter. And one example I just had to leave in here, the absolute worst culprit. I have been trying desperately to grind and farm for the Redmane Knight set for so long now, and there is something stupid like a total of 4 or 5 Redmane Knights in the whole game, and they are all very spread out, so to try and farm for this set is agony. So this is a perfect example of a great candidate where this gear reward system would be greatly appreciated by the community. As mentioned at the start of the video, at this point I wanted to share with you some of the new information that has come to light suggesting that the Elden Ring DLC is just around the corner. Firstly, last week the CEO of Bandai Namco Europe spoke about many things happening at Bandai Namco, including recent successes, and when touching on FromSoftware, along with talking about the successes of Armored Core 6, he also brought up the Shadow of the Erdtree, specifically mentioning not only that it was announced earlier this year, but also that it is due to release soon. Now, this news by itself isn't groundbreaking. However, if you combine that with the fact that Jeff Keighley, the creator and host of the Game Awards, recently met up with FromSoftware to check out their new offices and admire their Game Awards statues, now we could be onto something a bit more concrete. Why, you ask? Because, if you don't already know, the Game Awards has become the biggest annual event for announcing new game releases since the death of E3. And I have been saying now for months and months that I truly believe that we will have the announcement trailer and the Shadow of the Erdtree pre-order up before Christmas. And with all of this news, and the fact that the Game Awards is going to be on the 7th of December, I'm so confident that this is exactly when the Elden Ring DLC will officially be announced. And with all of that information shared with you, now it's time to get back to what we're looking forward to hopefully seeing in the DLC. Now we'll move on to number 3, armor set switching. What I mean by this is being able to have presets that you can quickly switch between at a moment's notice. Say for example here, I'm walking towards these enemies, clearly wielding immense amounts of fire, so I need to be quickly able to switch to my fire resistance set. Yes, I'm not in combat, so I can go through and change each armor piece one by one. But wouldn't it be so much more fun and so much easier if you could have these presets locked and loaded and ready to go, to save you this endless amount of menuing to switch between different sets? For instance, if you've got the blue ring enabled that lets you rally to someone's aid and defend against an invader, maybe you could have a PvP set at the ready that you can quickly switch to. Or maybe you're just a fashionista and you really would like to be able to switch between different sets at a moment's notice. Just for fun, just to keep it fresh and interesting. I tried to find you a few examples of other games that do already do this, because I know they're out there. I have definitely played games before that allow these saved presets and this armor switching at a moment's notice. But off the top of my head, I could not think of any, though I know they exist, and I think it would be a brilliant addition to Elden Ring. I mean, just look here as we stand looking over into the precipice of this canyon, seamlessly switching between some gorgeous armor sets. And if some may see this as unfair or cheating, if you really min-max your armor sets, then maybe this feature gets disabled during battle, just like with opening your menu and opening the map, and you can only use this out of battle. I think that would be a really great compromise to add a very fun feature into the game for those that want to use it. Now we'll move into number 4, Ashes of War. Now, this is definitely the most controversial opinion on this list, and even I'm not 100% sure if I like it, but I had the thought, and I know I'd regret not sharing it with you, just so I can plant the seed in other people's heads, and also get your feedback and get your opinions. As I was scrolling through and looking at all of the Ashes of War, I realized just how many of them were unique. And you can specifically see here, as you're looking through the menus, some of them just say skill, and some say unique skill, which mean you can only use that on that one weapon. It cannot be applied anywhere else by any means. And just have a look at this category of swords. Over half of them are unique skills. Now, the Ashes of War system, don't get me wrong, is amazing. It's so much more versatile than any other From game we've seen. And I love it. I do not fault it. And I'm not saying that I think we should be able to apply every Ash of War to every weapon. That's dumb. That completely defeats the point of the uniqueness. I love the current system, but hear me out. I had a thought. Maybe there could be an ultra rare one-use item somewhere in the game, maybe 2 of them max, that would allow you to apply a unique Ash of War to a different weapon. So you're still super limited and you've still got a really hard choice ahead of you, but you have an Ash of War that you absolutely adore from this unique boss weapon, but it doesn't fit your build because your stats just don't align. So you get this one opportunity to duplicate that and put it on a weapon of your choice. Just like the Lost Ashes of War item, but for any Ash of War. So you can make a really unique build tailored specifically to you. And okay, if it would make builds too overpowered and too broken, don't allow use in PvP. This weapon is locked out of PvP use if you use this item. I am incredibly curious what you all think about this idea. I'm certain it won't happen, but this was one I was really excited to talk about. I thought this was a really fun one. So, if anyone else has any super unique, potentially controversial ideas, let us all know. Genuinely would absolutely love to read your comments. Now, we will move on to number 5, an optional hard mode. We have seen From do this multiple times before, Both two examples being the Covenant of Champions in Dark Souls 2 and the Demon Bell in Sekiro. Also Kuro's Charm, but that requires New Game Plus. Both of these features add an optional hard mode into the game, albeit both very differently from one another, but it's an incredibly fun, awesome way that sweaty tryhards like myself can say, look at me, I beat the game after ringing the Demon Bell, or I beat the game whilst being a member of the Covenant of Champions. And I love that it's optional. Having that optional extra level of difficulty just for us sweaty bastards, I think is an absolutely great idea. And it is so easy. There are a plethora of ways that you could implement that into this game. It could be a collectible item somewhere that you could pick up, and just by picking it up, it wouldn't actually do anything, because that would be unfair. But the item description would hint that if you were to then use this, the world would then become stronger and more powerful. Or an NPC questline, or whatever it could be. There are so many ways you could implement an optional hard mode into Elden Ring. And then, just to make us feel even better about ourselves, let us get a trophy out of it if we beat the game with the hard mode turned on. There. If you would like to help this channel grow and share this phenomenal community with as many people as possible, I'm sure you know by now, the YouTube algorithm adores people who like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. So if you would do that for me, I would be forever indebted to you. Thank you so, so much. And if you wanted to go that one step further and support the continued ongoing quality and quantity of content on the channel, then please consider becoming a Knight of the Round Table over on patreon.com/domsroundtable. And if you are already, you are absolutely incredible, and I salute you. Thank you so much. Next up on the list, we have the Bestiary. For those of you who don't know what this is, it would be akin to the system from Neo or The Witcher, where as you were defeating certain amounts of a particular type of enemy, you would unlock more information about that enemy. You might find out their specific weaknesses, or even better, some lore on them. And as you can see here, it could even be given to us in the form of notes, which are already in the game, and even already cover certain enemies. This is not a thing FromSoftware have ever done, and I can't imagine it being added anytime soon, because they do pride themselves on their fairly ambiguous systems. And for the most part, that isn't a dig, I also like that. But I'm with you on this one, I think a Bestiary would be very cool. And on that note, we'll move on to number 3, Wondrous Physick. Specifically what was spoken about in regards to Wondrous Physick was being able to enhance it in certain ways. Certain tiers get used way more often than others because they are simply so damn powerful. Just like the eliminates all FP consumption tier that I've just equipped, that will now allow me to continually spam a spell for the next 20 seconds without using a single bit of FP. So, whilst I'm doing so, could you imagine if there were upgrades you can find for your flask that would allow you to equip 3 or 4 different tiers at the same time? Could you imagine the awesome combinations you could make? Even if this is something that would feel slightly too overpowered at first? What if you sacrificed a couple of uses of your regular flask to give an extra use to your physick or an extra tier to your physick? Could you imagine the awesome combinations you could put together? Next up we have upgrading Torrent. There was a lot of talk in the comments around being able to upgrade and enhance Torrent. There were a few different things that were suggested, so I'll cover everything and make this a bit more generic. So basically, wouldn't it be great if there was a Torrent quest line where you could upgrade his stats? Maybe make him run a bit faster, jump a bit higher, have more health, or even go to the extreme and get him involved in combat? Maybe have Torrent have a charge attack, just like the attack you can unlock during the Ghost of Tsushima DLC. Any way that you could enhance Torrent, just like I discussed during part 1 of this series, with being able to change his colour or give him armour. I think we all adore Torrent and would absolutely love a few more ways to be able to involve him in our game. Whether it's customizing him, grooming him, leveling him up, or even fighting with him. Anything we can do to get Torrent more involved would be absolutely epic. The final suggestion is to bank your runes. In a very similar vein to Sekiro, there was a lot of chatter around being able to bank or save up your runes, so you weren't forced to spend them there and then, but you didn't risk losing them on death. There isn't really any accompanying footage I can put along with this last tip, so just enjoy me clearing out a camp of perfumers and Miranda flowers whilst we talk about this last one. In Sekiro, you could purchase bags of gold. You would lose a small portion of them, but you would then be able to save most of them up in your inventory. So a way to be able to convert them into the golden runes that you find lying around would be awesome. This personally is the only one I disagree with at all. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but I would be happier if this stayed out of the game because I really like the challenge and I really like the risk reward. Adventuring a little bit further, trying to get to that next site of grace with 150, 250,000 runes on you, knowing that you could lose them in an instant, but you really want to push on towards that next site of grace so you don't lose your progress and have to do this all again. I love that feeling. That is part of the suspense and intensity that makes the Souls games what they are. And those are 9 of the things that could make the Elden Ring DLC truly incredible. And as always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.